AlwaysAyelet is the foremost internationally acclaimed authority on developing true connections. Ayelet is the founder and CEO of Universal Connections, Inc., the world's premier relationship firm that is revolutionizing life through holism and truth. A highly sought life and relationship coach, professional matchmaker, astrologer, philosopher, and author, Ayelet is always Ayelet. This episode is brought to you by Mount Gox, mtgox.com, and US Gold Coins, 800 Hot Coin, and Meze Grill, M-E-Z-E grill.com. And now, always Ayelet.
Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Always Ayelet. I am deeply touched and moved by the overwhelming response we had on our first show. I'm so excited and honored to have so many wonderful people reaching out, emailing me, voicemailing me, and it's really, really exciting. I am Always Ayelet, and joining me today is my co-host, Oscar. Actually, today's a special day for us. Today is the 6th-year anniversary of when I drove out to Wisconsin, 15 hours nonstop to pick up my little boy and bring him back home. So today's a special day for Oscar and I. Also joining me today for the Simple Truth segment is a very special guest honoring me today with her presence. We're actually mutual fans, I think. Athena Reich is a truth-based artist. She writes lyrics about love, life, relationships, kind of like what I'm doing in, I guess, book form, she's putting into musical form. She's fabulous, and she's here to join us today on our segment called The Simple Truth. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You know, it's amazing how we met because I read your article, The Value of Love, and I was moved. I think you're so courageous to be talking about the values and the issues that you talk about today. Yeah, your philosophies are very courageous and they need to be said. So I'd emailed you and said, I really appreciate this article, and then we ended up meeting and
here we are.
Yes. And it was nice, and you ended up checking out my music, and so
yes,
that's how we
met.
And
I love your music. Actually, Athena is often compared to, she's fabulous. You've recorded, let me just remember the specific, she's a singer, songwriter, actress. She's released 5 albums, 5 CDs. Her video has been #1 on MTV. Mm-hmm. And
MTV Logo.
MTV Logo.
Yeah.
Her video hit #1 on MTV Logo. And what am I forgetting?
I also write for musicals. The latest production was Lemon Meringue, and I was the composer for that show, as well as actress in it.
Right.
And I tour.
Yes, you've toured across North America and Europe.
Yes.
And her music is often, she's phenomenal, very powerful voice. And her music is often compared to other artists that I'm particularly a fan of. Annie Lennox, she's been out there for a while. Adele, fabulous sound. And of course, the fabulous Lady Gaga, who I absolutely adore. And maybe Lady Gaga will join us someday. Wouldn't that be a blast?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Today, joining us is Athena, and we're going to talk about her work and her upcoming appearances and what inspires her and how she gets her creative juices going, and talk a little bit about
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
And the simple truth.
Absolutely. People often ask how I get inspired to write songs, and
tell me about how it started for you. Like, what made you pursue?
I grew up in a very musical house.
Okay.
So I was told that I was in the womb, you know, a little baby, and she brought me to a Beethoven concert, and I started kicking to the beat.
Really?
Yeah.
So was it mostly, your upbringing was mostly classical music?
My mother plays amazing Beethoven and Chopin on the piano, and I used to lie underneath the piano and just listen to her play. And the sound that you hear when you're actually underneath a grand piano or a baby grand is much richer than when you're anywhere else. And this is I can imagine. Yeah. So this is how I grew up. So my mother started teaching me piano when I was 4, and I started taking lessons more seriously when I was 8. And I started acting and singing and everything as a child. I asked for it. when I was young. I said I wanted an agent when I was 4. My mom said, "How do you know what an agent is? Go play in the backyard." But I was just, born loving to perform.
You were born to be a star.
I was born to be a star. So, and then I was doing mainly all classical music as a musician. And then when I was 17, my teacher said, you've been practicing an hour and a half every day. You need to move up to 3 hours a day and become a concert pianist if you choose.
So is piano your primary?
Yes.
Wow.
Primary
And that's my
instrument.
personal favorite. My brother plays the piano. My mother plays the piano. My father used to play the piano when we were children too.
Okay.
I can totally relate.
Yeah.
And my favorite, really what moves me. Another band that I'm a fan of is One Republic. Have you heard their music?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're modern. They're pop and rock.
Yeah.
But they have that very classical element to their music, and also truth-based lyrics, which I love. So, of course, as you do in your music.
Yeah. So what happened was my teacher said, "You're phenomenal. Do you want to be a concert pianist? Because you could go that route." And right then I said, "No, I want to write my own songs." And so I taught myself guitar, and at age 16 and 17, I started playing little coffee shops. I'm from Toronto, and writing songs. And the song, I just felt I had so many stories to tell. I often will take a dream that I have, and I will just transcribe the dream into a song.
Wow!
And
tell me about one of your songs that.
Well, the very first song that I ever wrote, I was 16 years old, and it's called "Merry-Go-Round" and "Up and Down." And I had a dream about a carousel and a little girl, and I was a little girl, and I was going up and down. It was so fun on the carousel, going round and round. And then there's this creepy guy, and he was like going to attack me, and so I was like trying to just stay on the carousel. So it was about a loss of innocence and things like that. And I turned it into a song called "Merry-Go-Round" and "Up and Down." But it's really a song about hope and saying in the end, like, things got messy and I got like tainted and I lost innocence. But like in the end, I'm gonna get back on that horse, and I'm gonna live life, and I'm gonna go up and down and round and ride this wonderful life.
I always say everything in life is cyclical, so what goes around
there you
comes
go.
around. And it's not necessarily in like the karma sense of the word. It's, life is cyclical, and unless you get to the bottom, you can't get to the top. And the lower you fall, the higher you'll be. It's almost like it's a metaphysical law.
Right.
It is a metaphysical law, and I'm of course a metaphysicist in that regard. It's a metaphysical law, but it's also a physical law.
Right.
That if when we're leveraging anything, the further back you pull, the further far it's going to go.
Right.
And such is life.
Sure, absolutely. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? Nature doesn't like emptiness, right? So you pull back in one direction, nature fills it with something else, and you go back.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. In fact, that's a very profound comment about what you just said. It touches me deeply. I wanted to say, I forgot, there were some points that I wanted to mention with regards to our last show. The author of the book I cited was Who Moved My Cheese. It was Dr. Spencer Johnson who wrote the book, Who Moved My Cheese. I was highlighting the concept of change and reading the signs on the wall when life is happening and it's telling us it's time to move on, it's time for change. Dr. Spencer Johnson, MD, wrote a fabulous book. It's almost a children's book, but it really highlights how life is constantly changing and how you need to be conscious of the writing on the wall when it's time to prepare to move on. And so that's a really important theme. And the other concept that I wanted to talk about is how you just said how when there's a void, something's going to fill it. And each of us has the potential to be constantly fulfilled within ourselves. And by doing so, by having that fulfillment within, looking within to be fulfilled and finding that fulfillment within, our relationships outside of us will be half the burden. Because that love we seek already exists within us.
Right.
And so...
That's so true.
And people that don't have that are constantly, perpetually seeking without, having affairs, they're lying about this, they're, abusing drugs. We were talking about, drug abuse last week, or alcohol abuse, or any type of abuse whatsoever, anything that hurts the soul, is usually an attempt to fill this sense of emptiness within, this void. And you can choose to fill it with some toxic device like alcohol, drugs, and what other mode or vice you wish to abuse. or you can get to know yourself, recognize that what you have to fill you already exists within you,
Right.
and emanate that from you to attract in return the love and the fulfillment and in return that you need.
It's true. That's essentially my relationship to music, because when I'm feeling so empty or in a lot of pain or something, overwhelmed in a negative way, the only way I can find release is by writing a song about it. And then in the writing of the song, there's most of my music starts often in a dark place, and then there's a moment in the song where I go, but I'm not going to stand for this, and it goes into a joyous kind of place of, this is who I am, and I'm going to rise above this, and I'm going to survive kind of
Tell me
thing.
about upcoming gigs you have, any upcoming
Sure.
performances.
Tomorrow, I'm playing at the Googie's Lounge above the living room, and
nice.
Jack Hardy was a very famous singer-songwriter, and he passed away recently, and this is a tribute show to him.
Oh, how wonderful.
So I attended
Where
some of his...
Where is the show? Do you want to tell the
Sure,
audience?
it's at 154 Ludlow Street.
Okay,
at
downtown.
Yeah, downtown.
Okay.
So take the F train to 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
And it's at Googie's Lounge above the living room with Amy Emmerman. She books it. She
Okay.
performs.
Okay.
And her friend. So we have the bass player for Adam Levy, the bass player for Nora Jones is going to be performing
wow,
there
how lovely.
with us. So we have a whole lineup of people. Everybody just does
So
3
exciting.
songs. And it's a tribute to him. I went to some of the songwriting circles that Jack Hardy did, where you bring a song and it gets critiqued.
Right.
So I know him that way, and that's how I'm connected to this event.
How exciting for you!
Yeah,
This is
very
totally
exciting.
I'm totally excited for you.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Tell me about your tour. Tell me about the highlights of your touring when you're touring North America and Europe.
Well, I toured Europe just last fall, and it was amazing. Performing in Paris, I felt that people were so easily impressed, and like we're in New York, there's so much talent, and
Right.
in Paris they were like,
Wowed.
what I do is so different. It's maybe what I do is very New York. I play piano, I sing, I've got a big loud voice, and people love me here, but
You
it's
have a big heart too.
yeah, and in Paris, a lot of the female singers sing very softly and are very soft and feminine in this way, and I'm very feminine, but I'm like
New York.
I'm like more like Edith Piaf, actually, like very French. Like I'm actually extremely French, but so many of the singers there I noticed were
You
very
grew up in
soft.
Toronto, right?
Yeah, I'm fluent in French.
Are you fluent?
I'm fluent in French. I'm not French. My background isn't French, but
Je parle français aussi.
oh oui, okay, d'accord, yeah. So it's actually very French to be belty, like the Edith Piaf, but there's not a lot of it. It's like the women are shy or something.
Right.
So I went there and I played piano and I belted out my soul and my heart and I made them laugh and whatever. And it was like the warmest reception. And I played in England, in the south of England, and it was amazing. I love Europe, and I'm planning going back
I love
in
Europe
the fall.
too. Europe is great.
Yeah.
Europe is great, but I mean, I love America. America is the
New York
greatest.
is the place to live.
New York is the capital. I'm a New Yorker, darling.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
And so New York is.
It's a place to live.
It is the capital of the world. It is.
Yeah, it is.
And
But Europe's amazing to
but Europe
visit.
is amazing, and I'm a firm believer of world travel.
Yes.
That's what I love about my work too, because I travel a lot for my work as well.
Right.
But yeah, you have to be an American. You have to be proud of the country that you're from, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't really know people. We don't really know humanity until we experience.
Yeah.
And I never take a tour. I've traveled literally by myself, alone.
Perfect.
Just myself.
Yes.
Well, this is before Oscar. I haven't traveled much, not professionally, in the last 6 years since, well, it's been a while because of Oscar.
You're committed to being in his life.
Because career-wise, I haven't had
Right.
like personal vacation time. And the
Oh,
trips I
I
take
see.
now are business trips.
Right.
Where I have speaking engagements. I don't have a lot of tour time, like
Yeah.
personal,
Yeah.
hanging out kind of time.
Yeah.
But I do love to travel. And whenever I did travel personally, it was never on a tour. It was always local color. I was soaking up the local color.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
me alone.
It's great.
And it's the only way to really get a sense of the culture, what makes the world what it is.
I think it's so healthy to get away from your own country and get
Your own world.
your own world, and even your own
Absolutely.
country and your own foods and the colors that people wear here and the fashion. Just get away from wherever you are, go somewhere totally different, and it's so refreshing, like the foods and everything. And
I
then you
remember
come
also
back
when I
and
was in
you have
Spain.
such perspective.
Yeah, I was in Spain, and this is going to be a little funny, but I was in Spain in '92, And I'm pretty good in French, and I thereby have a working knowledge of Spanish.
Right.
But it was the weirdest thing. In Spain, I had such a hard time. They didn't really speak a lot of English there.
Right.
Most of the other places I visited, English wasn't a problem, etc. But in Spain, I had a hard time, and I remember. But when I was there, I was just freedom, Ayelet, like just being me.
Spain is like that.
No pantyhose, no bras, whatever. Just casual. Just Toledo one day, Madrid another day. I was in Ibiza for about 5 or 6 days. It was a blast. And I remember getting back to New York, to the real world, and I was starting my job, going back to work the next day. I had a corporate America job. And I was putting on pantyhose for the first time in like 3 weeks, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. I want to be free.
Yes.
So now I don't have to wear pantyhose anymore.
Good for you. It frees you up.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember coming back and actually being really sad and missing the food in France.
Oh,
because
Italy's amazing.
We're thinking of going.
Have you been to Italy?
No,
you have
thinking
to.
of going this September.
I'm totally. I love it.
We just want to spend a week in Rome or something.
Rome is the most romantic and beautiful city. It really, really is.
Yeah, we just want to eat pizza and gelato.
And you have to go to Capri.
Okay.
And eat pasta and gelato.
All right.
Pasta and gelato. And the seafood's great too. But I just, there are people that say, oh, I love America. I know there's so much to see in America. Yeah, but you don't get culture. You don't get to see how and where everything. Go to the source of history, the source of, you can read history books and learn about, the Roman Empire, but you could go to Rome and see the Colosseum and see, it's so fascinating to be part. And Israel too is another place I frequented, of course. And the antiquity of such an old, ancient, historic place. Have you been to Israel?
Not yet. You learn so much from traveling. When I was a child, my mother took me and my brother, just the three of us, and we went on a trip for 6 months around the world, mainly in Asia.
Wow.
And all we were hiking in the rainforest. We stayed in villages with local people. We were riding elephants. It was totally rustic, and it blew my mind, and it made me who I am today.
There's no other way to really connect with the world in which we live, which is all one.
Yes.
There's one source, and God is one, and we are one with God.
Yeah.
The source, however you want to define that. And there's no way to really know it
until you see it.
And experience it for yourself and feel it and smell it and taste it, etc. Exactly.
Yeah. And when people, this may seem very radical, but when people say America's the greatest country in the world, I think I disagree. I think I'm Canadian. But I choose to live here. I adore New York. There's a lot about America I love, but there's a lot about Canada I love. There's a lot about Sweden I love. I mean, I love so many countries, and I think why there's no competition.
Why do we have to put boundaries or labels on them?
Why would we put that? Why would we say it's the best? In some ways, America's the best, and in some ways, Sweden's the best, and in some ways, Italy's the best, and in some ways, China's the best. We all have our strengths. It's like people. That may seem radical.
I agree, my darling. I agree.
Yeah.
I support your position because I profess this. We all have strengths and challenges. However,
that's it.
America, my darling, if I may enlighten you, because I am a patriot American, and a proud patriot American. America is an idea.
Right.
America is not Canada or France or Italy or Sweden. America, the United States of America, is an idea.
Right.
That was founded by our forefathers.
Right. Although Israel is an idea.
Israel, my darling, is not an idea. Israel is a nation.
Right.
Israel is a nation. Israel is a nation created by God, if you will, like all the other nations and all the other people.
Right.
But Israel is a nation created by God and was given a constitution called the Torah through Moses, the messenger, that was received by the nation of Israel, the Jewish people, to be a beacon and to be a guide in the world. That is the distinct uniqueness of being of Israel. Israel, the land of Israel, is the land of the Jewish people. The nation of Israel is the Jewish people, and their constitution is the Torah, or the Old Testament. The United States of America, my darling, and I love traveling, and I love Italy, and I can love things about France and Canada, all of it. It's all beautiful. It's all God's work.
Yeah.
But the United States of America is unique in and of itself. And if anyone ever dares, and personally, I have issues with how Israel is doing things these days because they're trying to be a little America, and that isn't right.
Right.
Because there's only one America. There's only one United States of America. where, our Constitution is supposed to be enforced, and the rule of land, the rule of law, the rule of land, if you will, for us, and how we're supposed to live. And it's an idea that was created by man over 200 years ago, where you have a melting pot of people from all over the world that come here for one thing, to be free. In Israel, it's each Jewish person's right to be a Jew, free, without limitation, without inhibition, without constraints in the land of Israel. In Italy, it is every individual's right to be an Italian and to be, Roman Catholic or whatever the prevailing faith is, whatever it is in Italy, and to eat the Italian food in France. But the United States of America is specifically the only one of its kind where we welcome people from all backgrounds, all nations, all...
Canada does that too.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. But the United States of America, well, maybe they copied us. I don't know the history of Canada so well, and history's not my forte. But
it was just natural.
I do know the American history to the extent that the Constitution was created as an idea to provide a refuge, a land of opportunity for people to come here and create a life in freedom, in absolute freedom, which is a very important message that I try to enforce in my message about life and love and living a love-centered life and living a life of holism, because in essence, that is freedom. Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Constitution about our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I studied Native Studies,
Okay.
Native Canadian Studies,
Yes.
For a few years in college. I majored in that before switching to music.
Okay.
And I learned, this was mind-blowing,
Okay.
that the Iroquois Confederacy, so the Ojibwe Nation, the Mohawk Nation, a lot of the Native American, they were Native American and Native Canadian.
Correct.
They all had a government together called the Iroquois Confederacy.
Okay.
And in their constitution, they had a constitution, said everybody has the right to practice their own religion, and it said all these things. And actually, some of the founding fathers spent time with the Iroquois Confederacy. This is something you will never learn in any textbook unless you major in Native Studies.
Okay.
And if you look it up, it blows your mind.
Wow.
So a lot of the American Constitution was directly inspired by the Iroquois Confederacy, which has been around for thousands of years.
And that's
very fascinating to learn.
That's interesting to know, and I also believe a lot of the Constitution was inspired by the Torah, by the Old Testament.
I'm sure it was.
The rights to liberty, the rights to freedom, the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, sure.
Because any religion...
So it was mixed together.
Any religion, I'm not a fan or believer of religion personally, because I believe religion is man-made.
Right.
I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in the Torah. I believe in one God, and that God is one, and I believe in the Torah as the Constitution for humanity and how to live a life. It's actually living the Torah life is living a love-centered life, but we can't achieve fulfillment unless we are truly free. Yeah. Unless we really know ourselves and become free in our quest for happiness and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so that's a very important message.
Yeah.
But tell me,
and it's interesting because as a songwriter, when I write a song, I'm exploring a problem in my life or an issue, and it's something that feels very burning. So it's something that's either been with me for a while or something that I've seen as a pattern in my life or in other people's lives. And when I finish that song, I've somehow resolved the issue in me, and I feel a completeness and a peace, somehow at peace. And then when I perform it for others, then and people come up to me afterwards and if they that piece moved me or brought me to tears or it really touched me because I went through that, then I know that I'm taking,
you're learning.
I'm learning and I'm teaching at the same time as I'm
Absolutely.
learning. And so that's my work as a songwriter, which is probably very similar
to what I'm doing.
To what you're doing.
Teaching people how to love and be truly loved.
I mean, one of my, Samantha Swan, who's an incredible actress, who has been a mentor of mine, she says, as actors, we're simply storytellers.
Absolutely.
As performers, actors, songwriters, or, in the work
you
do.
To own the feelings, you need to have the empathy and compassion to own the feelings in order to perform in a certain light.
Yeah.
and to be the star that you are. I mean, that's what makes a good actress, is someone
Right.
that can actually feel
Yeah.
what the character is supposed to
Yes,
feel.
you have to be, you can never judge the character that you're playing.
Right.
People say, oh, this seems like a bitchy character. It's like, I don't have the luxury of judging my character. I am this character.
Tell me about-
I have to find the love in this character and be in her and understand her story, and I have to portray it because this is her story, and then through that people understand that story.
Tell me about, you know what, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
In a minute or so.
Sure.
And when we come back, I want you to tell me about some of the challenging experiences you've had.
Sure.
One of your greatest challenges that you've overcome as an actress and playing a character role.
Okay.
And when we come back, we're going to also open some of our overwhelming response to some Ask Ayelet questions right after these messages.
It's great. It's going great, right?
Cameras off. Yes. So I would like to thank our sponsors tonight. A special thanks to our very special sponsors tonight. First, I would like to thank MountGox.com, online exchange services for Bitcoins. They now take Euro, British Pound, Australian Dollar, and Canadian Dollar. They have continuing fees of 0.3% now through August 9th. Also, USGoldCoins.com, 1-800-HOT-COIN. Our trusted advisor for investments in rare gold and silver coins. Andy takes the mystery out of buying silver and gold by holding your hand. They take a hands-on approach. It's better to call and speak directly for current inventory. Again, the number is 1-800-HOT-COIN. And Mezzagrill.com, where authentic Mediterranean foods meet modern flavor. Now serving breakfast at 8th Avenue and 55th Street in New York City, just a couple of blocks south of Columbus Circle. And I'd love to welcome you and invite you to please give me a jingle at Ask Ayelet, my Ask Ayelet voicemail, which is at 212-569-6969. Again, 212-569-6969. Or you can email me at ayelet@onlyonetv.com. That's Ayelet, AYELET, at onlyonetv.com. I would love to hear from you, and I may very well answer your questions live on a future episode of Always Ayelet. Thank you. And now back to where we left off with, we were talking about the simple truth and your work.
Right, you were curious about what was a challenging role as an actress.
Yes, and how you bring the truth to life in a character you play.
Right, okay, so my latest role was actually pretty challenging. I played a therapist in the play called Lemon Meringue, and I was actually the composer for the play.
How wonderful. Is it still, it's off?
It's off right now, but they're doing some rewriting and it's going to come back.
Wonderful. You have to let me know.
Yeah, lemonmeringue.com, and
Wonderful.
it's actually a true story. It's a guy from Long Island, and it's a story. It's his true story of what happened to him as a child, and it's an amazing story. It's an amazing.
What does it touch upon?
Well, he was sexually abused by his pediatrician.
Oh wow!
And his pediatrician he's in jail, and he had dozens and dozens of cases against him. And,
wow.
And he was eventually awarded all this money by the state and everything, but it was his story because he went into addiction and he was very angry and his relationships were falling apart and he had no idea why. He had no memory of it. His pediatrician, his doctor said to him, "You have a blood disorder. I have to see," to his parents when he was a child, "I have to see him many times a week." And it was a lie. He had no blood disorder, and in that he committed abuse to him.
It's really sad.
It's crazy.
It's very sad.
But it's an amazing. But the play is so uplifting. I mean, it sounds
And
like it would be horrible.
Right,
I play
right.
his therapist.
Okay.
It sounds like it would be horrible. Like you think, oh my God, I don't want to see that. But actually, the whole thing is like people came out like just smiling, and they had tears, and they said, "Oh my God, that was so moving, and this makes me think of my brother. He told me once that he was abused." Like, it really makes you, people talk about sexual abuse against women, but they don't talk about it happening to men, but it actually happens to 1 in 6 men.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's not, they don't talk about it. But this play is so hopeful because he finds his whole truth, and he comes to who he is, and he faces himself. He's this like tough guy from Long Island, and his therapist is like, make a collage. Why don't you make a collage? And he's like, make a friggin' collage? Are you crazy? And like a collage about your life, about your feelings, right? And he's resisting the whole time.
Right.
And in the end, he like completely, it opens his mind, and he forgives himself. He'd been blaming himself and like his whole journey. So it's actually so moving. And I had to play therapist, which was a really challenging role because I'm used to playing like the star, and I actually work as a Lady Gaga impersonator, and like I have such a blast. I have a bubble dress, and I'm outrageous.
It's like being you.
Yeah, it's like being me, right? So it's like I'm used to all this stuff, and she is a very reserved, conservative person.
Right.
Very sweet, very giving, but basically, the character Rich is so volatile. He's about to explode with anger at any moment. She like really even brings herself down more. So I had to be like very, very quiet, very suggestive, very giving.
So you weren't being you.
I was like the opposite of me. And at one point I said to the director, "Are you sure you cast this well? Because I and she just like, "I believe in your acting abilities."
That's right.
And I just worked at it, and I finally found her.
How did you find the calm center?
You know what it was is like, first I was too sympathetic. I was too active as a therapist. And then my director was like, pull it back. And then I pulled back too much, and she's like, "You're not you." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I was me and you pulled me back." And then I don't know, I found the middle, and it was really through the director, Terry Muse, and she was like, that's it. You know, just, she just clued me in. Now you're thinking he's in pain. Now you're thinking this. And so it became all about him.
Right.
All about him.
Right.
And then someone came up to me afterwards and said, "You were so selfless," you know, and people who said, other people who really know me, "It's really weird watching you because it like, I know you really well," and it was like, "Not you at all." So the whole time they're like, "It was really weird." And other people was like, "It was amazing." And I pulled from my own experience because I've done my own therapy, and I pulled a lot from that. Although my therapist is different from Gail, from that, you know.
Right. How is your therapist different from?
My therapist talks more.
Right.
You know, maybe not at the beginning. She was a little more quiet, but she talks more. She's more, and she gives me her opinion.
Okay.
She has more of a personality.
Yeah, many therapists have different styles.
Different styles, but I had to be the traditional.
What I found very compelling of what you just shared about the play, about the character, Rich, the character, is that. People resist and deny their truth because it's so painful. And we talked about it a little bit in last week's show. If you want to go back and watch episode 1, I had Tim Moss as a guest. Such a darling.
He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, ditto, mutual. Just a really amazing talent and just an extraordinary human being. And we talked about denying our truth and not knowing our truth, and we talked a little bit about astrology and it's painful because people live most of their lives, and in some very sad cases, all of their lives, resisting the truth, and they're never happy. And nothing breaks my heart more than seeing this or knowing this even personally in my life. You know, there are people in our lives, they exist in each of our lives, that just refuse to grow. And when I say grow, I mean accept the reality of what is happening to you, understand why it is happening to you, and learn and move on. Get that lesson under in your little notch and move on.
And create a new life for yourself that's free from the old patterns.
I love you for saying that, my darling. That's exactly what I'm trying to inspire people to do. It's not creating a new life. It's creating the life you're supposed to have. It's becoming.
That's fulfilling for you.
It's becoming who you are.
Right.
We are here on this earth from the second we are born, becoming who we are.
Right.
It's all one. It's all one reality. It's a very metaphysical kind of challenging concept to have a grasp on. But for those of you, and I've gotten a lot of responses, a lot of emails for the more mystically inclined and spiritually inclined and psychologically inclined and just regular ordinary people that I believe are at the dawn of an awakening. We are at the dawn of an awakening right now, a universal awakening. It's the evolutionary process of our civilization, human civilization, to be awakened now at this time, at the dawn of this new era. And I firmly believe in truth, there is freedom, and I'm not saying the journey will be easy or without pain.
But it's worth it.
Thank you, my darling, because unless you feel the pain and let go of the attachments, that's what this is about. It's about letting go of the attachments, because that's not love. Attaching, clinging, possessing, that's not love. Freedom is love. And if someone on their own free will loves you back, when you're free enough to be love, you will attract love. And that love will be free in that thing. And then the union is, people talk about marriage. And of course, I'm a matchmaker. And so I'm an advocate for the institution of marriage.
Absolutely.
But only when it's a true connection. It's not a marathon. Marriage is not a marathon for... I can stick it through another. We've been together for 10 years. Let's stick it out another 5. Let's stick it out another 10. We're different. And that's how many people live their lives. We've been together for already 10, 15 years. We've got 2 kids. But you're miserable. You're unfaithful to yourself. It's not about infidelity. Infidelity isn't about, Anthony Weiner going online. Anthony Weiner, I shouldn't be mentioning people's names, or should I? But he's been all over the world. So, it was public. It was a public display of toxic manifestations hidden in someone's psyche that can't handle his truth, because if he did, he would have owned his position, he would have owned his power, and he wouldn't have had to act out in such a defiling manner, hurting himself and hurting the people he loved. But he hurt himself a long time before, when he wasn't listening to his heart and being true to his heart. And that's what's painful.
He's
and
obviously in a lot of pain.
If I can urge anyone, it's, it hurts. But sometimes the choice, the path less traveled, is more difficult. But there's a reward in that.
It's like going up a mountain; you get a better view.
Thank you.
Or it's like all
I wrote. Did you read the poem I wrote? The gift on my website.
It's beautiful. It's so.
We
moving.
should collaborate, and potentially maybe you can compose the music.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd be so honored.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We should talk about that.
Okay, we should talk about
that. And for those of you out there, if you go to my website, AlwaysAyelet.com, go to Ayelet Media Publications. It's called The Gift. It's a poem I recently composed and authored and wrote for someone very special to me, and it's you can download it for free at this time on AlwaysAyelet.com. And so that would be totally because it's totally along the lines of how to find true love. I mean, the answers are in there. And for all those readers out there, anyone who downloads the poem and can decipher what the token is, maybe we'll have you on as a guest and we can talk about it. That's the secret code of the poem. But tell me about, so the play has finished up, but it's going to be revamping in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, people can go to lemonmeringue.com or go to my website to find it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so now I think it's time. Is there something that you wanted to tell me? So you're performing tomorrow night. Do you have any other upcoming gigs?
Yes, I'll be performing in a couple of weeks. I forget the exact date, August something. It's on my website.
Okay.
It's a big show. It's called Logo Artists Live, for the artists who've had music videos on MTV Logo. And we're doing a show at the Triad Theater, which is a really big venue.
Okay, where is that?
It's, I don't even remember.
No, what is the name of the theater?
Triad Theater. The Triad Theater.
Can you spell it?
TRIAD.
Thank you. The Triad Theater in New York City.
Yeah, in New York City.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I have that going on, and I have this crazy.
And your website is?
AthenaReich.com. AthenaReich.com.
Wonderful. So tune in. And the name of your most recent release?
Little Girl Dreams.
Okay.
Which is on iTunes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We all have little girl dreams.
We do.
In fact, just today someone was telling me, I sound like a little girl. I said, yes, because I'm still a little girl.
Right.
There's that little girl in me, and there's that little girl in you, and there's a little boy in each of us, and a little girl in each of us, and We just need to become, not lose the little girl in us or stop loving her, but become the women and men that we are and that we are destined to be.
Yeah.
So what I'd love for you, can you stay for a little while longer? Finish up the
Sure,
show?
okay.
What I would love to do is open up some emails from some of our readers.
Oh, great.
On AskAyelet.com. Oscar,
Yeah.
what is it that you would like, baby? You want to ask a question? You want to kiss mommy on public television? I don't think, baby. No public displays. No public displays. Why don't you sit and take a nap? And we're going to open up some emails. I was flooded. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I got some voicemails and I got some emails. And I don't know, maybe some of this will resonate for you. Maybe you can chime in on your advice as well. But
Okay.
I think they want my advice. So
Right.
This is the Ask Ayelet segment. And let's see. Ooh. There's so many questions, so many emails. You don't know where to begin. Our first email is from Joanna from Scarsdale. Joanna asks, she says, dear Ayelet, in your last email, you were talking about relationships, that 98% of relationships are doomed for failure. What constitutes a failed relationship? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think constitutes a failed relationship, Athena?
I mean,
Goddess of wisdom.
I feel like when it ends, it's failed. A lot of people will disagree with me and say you should see the good in it and like all of this. And I'm just like, if I love that person, which I've always chosen people that I've loved, and if they weren't willing to stick it out to work it out, then I do feel like it failed and wasted my time. And a lot of people disagree with me.
Okay.
I know they will.
I already do disagree with you.
I know.
I'll tell you why and how.
Okay.
First of all, there is no such thing as a failed, doomed for failure. What do I mean? The question is, what do I mean about a failed relationship? Failed relationship means there's no love, there's no win,
Right.
and it's a use or abuse relationship.
Right.
The relationship might still be perpetuating.
That's true.
That doesn't mean that you have a relationship.
Right.
It means you're in a failed relationship.
That's true.
Okay? If in fact the relationship actually terminates and you feel like it was a waste, is that what you were saying?
But then it was a success because you
It's a success
terminated
because
abused
you terminated
relation-
and you.
That's true.
It is a success because
you left
you
it.
ended a cycle of abuse.
Right.
You mastered a valuable lesson in that.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
that relationship.
That's true.
And nothing is in vain.
Yeah.
In some cases, there might be children, there might be businesses, there might be homes, there might be possessions, material things
Loss.
that you may have acquired along the way, or things. Everybody,
Right.
everybody gives us something.
Right.
So there's no failure in that regard. So when I
Right.
say a failed relationship, what I mean is, if you're just perpetuating and not learning or growing, you're in a failed relationship and your relationship is failing. But just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean it's not a failure. Just because you're in a relationship, if there is no love, if there's no win-win in the relationship, and if it is a use or abuse relationship, it is a failure, in my view. Because all relationships should always be love-centered, should always be truth-based, should always be freedom-based, and love-centered. I said it already. So that's my answer for what constitutes a failed relationship. If it's not love-centered, it's a failed relationship. Ask yourself, is there honor? Is there value? Is there devotion? Not commitment. We can all be committed to each other, do our obligation, do our duty, do our due diligence. But if there's no honor for one another, if there's no value, appreciation for one another, and in many cases, it's the simple inability or the incapacity to appreciate another person. It is not a love relationship. To love is to honor. If there is no honor, if it's based on a lie, if you're lying to each other, if you're deceiving each other in any fashion, even if you think it's for their own good, it's not love. You're doing them a disservice. You're doing them an injustice. Speak the truth. Be the truth that you are. And end the relationship as a successful lesson in life and move on to seeking your journey, move along your journey to holism, being whole, having integrity, and living a love-centered life, and you will find someone who will love you in your entirety, as I wrote in the poem, exactly as you are and exactly as you're meant to be. Thank you, Joanna from Scarsdale, and I hope that you will find some solace in my answer. Next, we have a question from Michael in Manhattan. Michael writes, how do you know when a relationship is over? When is it time to say goodbye? What do you think?
I think when you've exhausted, I do believe in like trying to work really hard. I believe that every relationship comes to a point.
I love you because you're so prototypical to my work, but continue.
Yeah, okay. I believe that every relationship, there comes to a point where you really see each other, and every relationship has its challenges. And if both people are willing to work together and grow together and adapt to each other, then it's going to be successful and it's going to grow. So if you come to those challenges and you realize that your partner or you or whatever, there's an incompatibility and you're not able to adapt to each other in a way without losing who you are, then it's not going to work. But if you realize I'm quirky this way, you're quirky this way, we can work with this. You know, when you tip me off this way, I'm going to do this, and you do this, and you say it like this, and blah, blah. You don't have to change who you are, but adapt it a bit because it drives me nuts.
Right.
So you can have that dialogue.
So when is it time to say goodbye?
When you've had these conversations with your partner, and your partner basically like is not a willing participant, is like, I don't want to talk about this, or is like,
is incapable,
I'm incapable to do this, or fights you, or just like, or you feel like you're adapting to your partner so much and your partner's not adapting to you, because I do believe you have to grow in love together.
Absolutely.
And so if you're adapting more than
my
they're
darling,
adapting.
if you go to my AskAyelet.com website, you will see that I write and I say over and over again, it takes two, not one, two whole people.
Yeah.
That's WHOLE. Two whole people to have a true connection, a lasting, truly loving relationship.
Yeah.
Two whole people to have a true connection. Love is not the mythical completion of one another. You know, no one's going to fill your void. You need to be whole in and of yourself, and then find someone who is going to love you exactly as you are. You don't have to change a thing, and you are free. Key word today, my darlings, is free, F-R-E-E, freedom. Find the freedom to be who you are and be loved for who you are, and then hopefully you'll love someone who actually loves you for exactly who you are. Not what you do for them, not what you represent to them, nothing superficial, just be. And that's how you know you have, that's how you know when you have a true connection. So to answer the question, how do you know when a relationship is over? The answer is, my darling, Athena, is when your heart is saying to you, this isn't right, and I want to work to make it right, that's when it's over.
Really?
Really.
I disagree.
You want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
Because if it's truly love,
Yeah.
and you're in simpatico with each other,
Yeah.
guess what, darling? It's not work. I know this is going to blow everybody's mind because everybody says work on your relationship, it's not work.
Yeah.
It's love.
Yeah.
I love being here. I love my show. I love my work. This isn't work.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
This
if you
is my
define
passion.
work that way, then
Well, that's what work is, my darling.
right.
Isn't it?
Right. I just
When
believe
it's
every
love,
couple. What happens when
it's
there's
love, it
conflicts?
is truth. There are no conflicts. There might be misunderstandings.
Well, yeah.
There might be disappointments.
Yeah.
But when there's love, it's not
Yeah.
conflict.
No?
No, darling. It's a misunderstanding.
Right.
And a disappointment.
But sometimes you have to
not a conflict.
But sometimes you have to work in not work, but you have to have that. It might be difficult or painful or scary to say, what really happened there? Oh, it was a misunderstanding.
Right.
That's what I
And
mean
then
by the
both
word.
people say, oh, it was a misunderstanding,
Yeah.
agree, kiss and make up.
Right.
And you're moving on.
That's
You're
what
not
I mean.
working. But
I
that's
call
not-
that work.
Okay. That's not working.
Okay.
That's relating.
Yeah, well,
That's
okay.
relating in a love-centered
Yeah.
manner.
Yeah.
Where your egos are out the door, they don't even play into the
I
relationship.
don't mean anything else other than that.
Well, okay, I'm glad we
That's all
clarified
I
that.
meant.
So for the audience,
if it's painful and it's making you
if
feel
it's
like
work,
crap,
it's not love.
I mean
and-
making you feel like crap. If it makes you feel like crap, that's not worth it.
Right. If
That-
it's an effort, it's not love. That's when the relationship is over. If someone just doesn't get you,
Yeah.
I got an email back from somebody, there's people that just don't They don't have the capacity to.
Yeah.
As much as they want to.
Yeah.
And again, their desire for you or their relationship with you may not be wholly sound.
Yeah.
Because of the simple fact that they have a subconscious need to control or possess.
Yeah.
Which defies the definition of love. If you go to my website, AlwaysAyelet.com, and you will learn that you mustn't have the emotional desire to control or possess in the context of a loving relationship.
Yeah.
If those ingredients exist, even though there's all the caring, all the love, all the support, all the respect, but there's an emotional need to control or possess, it's not love. End it. Move on. Find the love you need. Find the love you need. Not the love you want. The love that is out there to fulfill you. Do we have time for one more question? Let's see. Let me see if we can I have so many questions. Okay. Alexandra from Toronto, she writes, actually she called in, how do you know when the struggles you're going through in a relationship are solvable or a warning that the relationship isn't working? Another great question, Alexandra. Another great question is if the struggles you're going through in a relationship are solvable. Again, if they are material issues, Alexandra, if they are anything to do with the material world of illusion, like, are we going to move to California because of my job opportunity? Are we going to buy a new SUV because we have 3 more kids? Is it something material? If your issues are material, then it's solvable. That's nonsense. But if your issues are spiritual, you're not connecting spiritually, you're not connecting emotionally, you're not connecting mentally, you have absolutely nothing in common, okay? There's no honor, there's no respect, there's no appreciation, there's no comprehension of what this other person is, then guess what? That's not solvable. You can't fit a round peg into a square. You can't fit a square peg into a circle. It's just not going to happen. So if the issues go to the core, I always say, when you have a problem, don't look at the symptoms. What are we fighting about? Oh, we're fighting over money. Money's not the problem, money's the symptom. Go to the source of the issue. Dig within, and you can always call me at 212-569-6969, leave a voicemail and I will be happy to respond to it. Or you can reach me also for private consultations. I'm always happy, willing to help, and I'm now running a special offer to our Only One TV viewers, which is you can find on special events and offers at AlwaysAyelet.com. But if the answer is fundamental, if there's a fundamental truth that isn't gelling between the two of you, if there's a lack of truth between you,
if your morals are different, it's not
your values are different. If your values aren't the same, if you're exactly,
right,
it's not solvable.
Yeah,
and I'm not even talking religion. You can have different religions, but share the same values.
Definitely,
it's about common values, common goals.
What you want out of your life,
emotional compatibility, just a connection that you feel divinely tuned into.
But I think there's also problems that are not material.
When you have, then there shouldn't be a struggle.
Right.
True love is not a struggle.
But there is struggle
Such
sometimes.
As?
Like, I don't know, if they people just, people have problems, right? Like they rub each other the wrong way. Like somebody.
Because their egos are involved. Well, everything you're saying, I'm going to rebuke everything you're saying. Their only problems are being true to themselves,
right,
and with each other.
Yeah,
you have to be true.
But so there are material problems that I agree are solvable, and I agree that if you disagree on values or you don't have a connection, it's not solvable. You have to share values. But if you have a problem in the middle, where it's kind of like, I don't know, somebody irritates somebody because they're always, I'm trying to think of an example.
Don't love. They don't love. Because love is accepting two sides of the coin. I think you missed the last week's show. There's two sides to every coin.
Right, and you have to love all of the person.
You have to love both sides. You have to understand that there's both sides to the coin.
But what is growing together to you?
That's a good question. She's asking the questions now. Our time is almost up.
Maybe for next episode.
This is so much fun. What is growing together? But yeah, I would love to see you again.
Yeah,
it was
thank you so much for having
to
me.
have you.
Yes, thank you.
To have you as my guest. And I'm wishing you all the. I'm not going to say break a leg, but I'm going to say knock 'em dead, because you will, and you are a star. And Lady Gaga, watch out, because you've got some competition here. And I'm really, really proud of you, and I really hope that we will get together. But just to answer the question, how do you grow? You have to have a like-mindedness at the onset. You have to have the potential for like-mindedness.
At the onset, yes.
You must have potential for like-mindedness at the onset, or inherent in your unique selves, in order to be able to grow together.
Yes.
So that when the challenges occur,
yes,
or outside influences may challenge your union, you will overcome them.
Yes.
No matter what. No matter what the baggage is, no matter what
you
the
will
challenges are. You will overcome them if you come from a like-minded place.
Yes.
Common values, common goals, and a true,
I think that's
true honor, devotion, and value for one another, for oneself and one another. And that is the paradigm for true love. You must have honor, devotion, and value as central and based on we must have honor, devotion, and value sitting on a foundation of truth. If you have that, you will overcome World War III.
Right.
You will overcome the depression of the 21st century. You will overcome disease and plague and everything. And your life will be so much more blessed and easy and effortless for that love.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say is if you can overcome struggles or things together, then you know it's a success.
Exactly.
It's a success.
Well, no, not necessarily, my darling.
If you can truly solve them.
No,
you
don't be doing that of devotion. If your relationship, it doesn't go this way. It's not overcoming the challenge.
Yeah.
It's recognizing the obstacles on our joined path.
Yeah.
If your relationship is a challenge, we need to end.
Right.
But if your relationship is a challenge, it's not. But we will continue this again soon. With all my love, I thank you so much for tuning in again today. Tune in again next week at 6 p.m. sharp, live Eastern Time from New York City. Thank you, audience, for joining me. I wish you a love-centered life, and I wish you all the best in the upcoming week. I am always Ayelet.